When a mother's instinct screams danger, a story of a grim reality becomes unveiled. Iyana Kassian, a lady full of love and hope for her family, crosses paths with wealthy heir Blake Leibel, a seemingly perfect catch with a hidden, dark obsession. In a grim twist of fate, their union descends from a beautiful relationship into a nightmare, unraveling a harrowing tale of passion, deception, and murder. The murder of Iyana Kassian transforms a dream into a nightmare and tells us that the brightest lights always cast the darkest shadows. Iyana Kassian was the ideal girl. She has it all: the brains, good looks, and a personality that can put a smile on one's face. From Kyiv, Ukraine, the brilliant tax lawyer moved to Los Angeles in 2014 to start a modeling career. In just a few months after arriving in the United States, Iyana, who was 28 years old at the time, was easily booking modeling gigs. But she needed a boost for her career, so she decided to attend industry functions in the hopes of capturing the attention of the power players in Hollywood. She was motivated and excited to make her dreams come true in this big country, to live the American dream.
She wanted to live in a huge, strong country. She really loved it.
But her life took a sharp turn when at a soiree in 2015, she crossed paths with writer, director, and film producer Blake Leibel. The man was wealthy, born from a Canadian family dabbling in real estate. The family was old money, indeed. But despite the different origins, their encounter led to a romantic relationship, merging Iyana's radiant charm with Blake's shadowed affluence. From this, a story of dreams and love will slowly take a pivotal turn and transform the tale into a complete nightmare. Hailing from a rich family, Blake was an heir to a Canadian real estate fortune. He grew up with an expensive lifestyle and privilege. This extended to his ventures in his adult life, especially when he started expressing himself through various media. He is known for his poorly received film entitled Bald and his horror graphic novel, Syndrome. The second one seemed to be a foreshadowing of the real-life horror that is about to happen. Iyana thought that he seemed to be a good catch and was drawn to him, despite meeting him when he was still in an ongoing divorce with his first wife, Amanda Braun. Iyana enjoyed the attention and lavish life from Blake, and their relationship was intense. Not long after, Iyana became pregnant, and on May 3, 2016, she gave birth to a girl named Diana. She was living a happy life with Blake, and she was excited for their family's future.
Father, mother, daughter, beautiful.
In the first few days after Diana was born, Blake certainly seemed content with his new family.
But this happiness quickly disappeared when Blake's affair was revealed. Iyana had no idea her partner had another woman in his life, Constance Bucafuri. Blake was brazen enough to keep the two women in his life, and Iyana was unaware that Constance was also residing in a property owned by Blake. The affair was revealed when Constance later accused him of sexual assault.
So he was going between Yana and Constance, the condo, and this house.
In this house, that's correct. He's living multiple lives.
Blake was never convicted, but his behavior changed. He demanded her full attention, especially in the bed, completely disregarding the fact that she just gave birth.
He constantly demanded sex and that he could leave her for another woman.
Also seemed to be jealous of their daughter, and he slowly lost interest in being a father to Diana. The tension between them forced Iyana to send their daughter to her mother, Olga, to ensure that Diana was well taken care of. Olga was intently begging her daughter to just move on from Blake and move in with her so that she can be with her baby, but Iyana always ends up coming back to Blake. During the tension between her daughter and Blake, Olga saw how the man transformed from a man she once considered a good partner for her daughter to someone whose temper is so volatile and disturbing. On May 23, 2016, Iyana and Olga were busy shopping for a stroller. This clip was the last time she was seen on CCTV. Within the day, Iyana received a troubling text from Blake. There was a sense of urgency in her demeanor after receiving the message, and she immediately left to meet him. What Olga did not know was that this was the final time that she would see her daughter alive.
Понимаете?
Upon receiving those texts, she would change like a chameleon. Her facial expression changed. After those texts, she would say, "I'm going to him."
So she left.
She did.
After Iyana left to meet with Blake, Olga was anxious. Her daughter has not been home for a few days, and she cannot reach her phone. Her mother's intuition is gnawing at her, and she is sensing big trouble. From the CCTV footage of the building where Blake and Iyana lived, Olga was captured trying to get inside in order to get her daughter. She made several attempts to enter the building, but all she was getting were locked gates and unanswered doorbells. But Olga could feel that something was wrong, so she did not stop coming. On May 25, 2016, she went back to the apartment building again. This time, she sees Blake through the window, but there is no way she can communicate with him. After many attempts, Olga finally gets inside the building with the help of another resident. She tried to knock on the door, but there was no response. Olga had no choice, so she had to call the police for help. However, they explained that they could not forcibly enter the apartment because there was no evidence of immediate danger. Olga was disheartened because of that fact, but it did not affect her drive to reach her daughter. The next day, she decides to call the police again. She was able to communicate properly through an interpreter, and she stressed her daughter's postpartum condition to the police. This drove the authorities to finally do something, since Iyana's physical health might be at risk.
Oh, what's the mother's name on the line?
Olga Kasyan. My name is Olga Kasyan. I want to get my daughter out of that apartment safely. I want to open the doors to break into that apartment and get my daughter out. It's been 3 weeks since she had a C-section, and she needs doctor's attention.
Okay, this is what I'll do. Tell her I will send deputies to do a welfare check to see if she is there. If she's there, we'll talk to her and ask her several questions and tell her that her mother's concerned, and because she hasn't heard from her in several days.
Yes, ma'am. She won't open the door. They already tried to do that, and they tried to knock, but he doesn't open. He won't open the door.
Okay, we'll do another welfare check, and we will call her to let her know the outcome, and then we'll go from there as far as possibly doing a missing persons report.
Yes, ma'am. When are you going to go there? Because your life is in danger.
We're going as soon as we hang up.
It was noon on May 26, 2016, when the police finally entered the building. Olga was waiting outside, nervous but still looking forward to meeting her daughter again. What she did not know is that her waiting would be in vain, and a terrible news is waiting that will surely break her heart. The police, on the other hand, went to the 3rd floor where the couple's residence is situated. They were able to obtain the key from the realtor. The officers, led by Sergeant Rob Martindale, went through the eerie condo and were met by a messy living room that seemed to indicate a struggle, or perhaps an attempt to hide something. They shouted for Blake and Iyana, but there was no response. And while the key allowed entry, the additional hotel-style locks became an issue. The police had no choice but to breach the door. Immediately, they saw blood, which is obvious evidence of struggle and violence. They then decided to go to the master bedroom, but the door was barricaded with a mattress. They screamed out for Blake, who finally responded. Blake then tells the police that Iyana isn't home. After this, Blake calls a friend, who was seen on surveillance tape, rushing into the condo. The friend manages to urge Blake to open the door and come out of the bedroom. He was minimally clothed and insisted that she was not there. Upon entering the master bedroom, the police knew they were in for some rough work. There were attempts to clean blood-stained walls, but it was still obvious to the naked eye. As they went through the master bedroom filled with failed attempts to wipe off evidence, they finally saw Iyana. She was covered in a blanket, and she seemed peaceful at first. But when they moved her body from the pillow, that was when the detectives saw the complete damage done to the woman. She had been scalped, and her body was eerily and unusually pale. The 2 detectives even described it as sadistic. As Olga finally entered the building, she saw Blake handcuffed and being taken by the police. But she ignored him and just focused on the door she so desperately wanted to open in order to be with her daughter again. But instead, the heartbreaking truth was delivered to her. Her sweet Iana had been brutally murdered. She was so overcome with grief that she tried to reach the apartment and started screaming for her daughter. Meanwhile, Blake, who was eerily smiling when he was photographed for his arrest photo, cryptically noted that science is going to tell you who did this. And so science did. With the help of Leslie Thompson, a crime scene specialist, they were able to get a glimpse of how Iana's last days were. She used luminol, which is a chemical substance that lights up traces of blood that are invisible to the naked eye. In an interesting irony, the darkness brought light to the true extent of torture and suffering Iana experienced. The glow painted a disturbing picture in the condo, and the light became a silent witness to the crime. Everything that lit up told a tale of pain, violence, and suffering that Iana endured at the hands of the man who promised to love her and take care of her. Through the autopsy, the brutal details of Iana's death were revealed. Her scalp was removed, as well as significant portions of her skin. It was assessed that her skin was removed with a sharp instrument and with bare fingers. It is even more heartbreaking to find out that she endured all this pain for so long, since she was alive at least 6 hours after the horrible deed was done to her. And her cause of death? Exsanguination. This means that the blood had been almost drained from her body. This is the reason why Iana was eerily pale. The scientific community was totally baffled by the amount of blood lost from her body. They experimented with multiple cadavers to understand how the situation became possible. The conclusion then highlighted a gruesome fact. The draining of her blood can only be replicated with a heart still beating. The case brought some insight into Blake's state of mind, and his issues with jealousy, control, and obsession with violence. His graphic novel Syndrome seemed to be the fantasy he decided to turn into a reality, and life imitated art in the most disturbing way possible. The trial unfolded with various testimonies, strong evidence, and a story of calculated brutality. Prosecutor Beth Silverman even said that this case is more than just murder, but a glimpse into the depths of human depravity. Aside from inflicting violence towards Iana, Blake even had the audacity to order food. This was also mentioned during the trial and highlighted that Blake could have just chosen to stop hurting her, but he didn't. Olga, who was still grieving the loss of her beloved daughter, bravely made her presence felt in court.
Я ее мама.
I am her mom, and I must put all her pain through me.
Я хотела каждую фотографию
I
целовать.
asked them to give me those pictures, those photos. I wanted to hug each of those photos and kiss each of those photos.
Despite the unfortunate loss, Olga remained strong because of a mother's love.
Мне хочется кричать «Яночка».
She just wants to scream, Yanechka, Yanechka, I'm sorry, I couldn't save you.
Even if the guilty verdict meant that Blake would spend the rest of his life in prison, he showed no remorse at all. To some, the punishment is not enough for the unspeakable horror he inflicted on Iana and her family. Iana's memories are more than just being a victim of a brutal murder, but also a tale of a woman filled with dreams, happiness, and love for her family. It is a story not just about a victim, but a daughter and a mother. This harrowing tale will remain a reminder of how deep and dark the human mind can be, and how a mother's love and instinct helped shed light and brought this case to justice. What thoughts or theories do you have about this case? Join the conversation in the comments section below. And don't forget to explore our channel for more content on the greatest crimes and mysteries. Thank you for watching.